Hey everyone, Rick here, and I just thought I would do a video detailing my top 5 games of 2019 and 5 games that I would like to play from 2019. Just going through some of my backlog of games, I realized, I haven't played a whole lot of games from 2019, so I can't, in all good conscience, do a top 10. So I'm doing two top 5s. Top 5 games that I played in 2019 and top 5 games from 2019 that I would like to finally hit the table. So let's take a look at some of those. All right, folks, let's get this show on the road, and we are beginning with the top 5 games that I've played in 2019. Now that, again, means it is a limited pool of games. Played some fantastic games in 2019, but a whole lot of them, in fact, most of them, by a vast majority, were not produced in 2019. So, of the very few that were, let's begin with number 5, Point Salad. If you haven't heard of Point Salad by now, I encourage you to go check it out. There are some fantastic walkthrough videos on YouTube, and they only last a minute or two because this game is super simple to explain. Folks, the box says, this is an AEG release, and it is 14 plus. That has to be some kind of age regulation. Some kind of legal reason for that, because definitely under the age of 14 can play this game. Super simple on your turn. You either pick 1 point card or 2 veggie cards, and you essentially choose how you're going to score at the end of the game, because after all the cards have been drafted, you're going to look player by player at the point cards you have, and you are going to get, for example, this card will give you 1 point for every lettuce, 1 point for every tomato. So boom, there's 5 points right there. Then move to the next point card. And on the backs of the point cards are other vegetables. So during the game as a free action, if that point card's not going to do a whole lot for you, you can flip it over to the corresponding vegetable. Or let's just say you needed an extra vegetable of that kind, maybe to complete a set. Or, now the only thing you cannot do is swap a vegetable and flip it to its point side. That is not allowed. But folks, super quick. Turns are boom, boom, boom. The whole game lasts 15 to a half hour, the box says. I'd say that's pretty spot on. The fact that this also plays 2 to 6 is fantastic. You get 6 people going, and that is an absolutely fantastic way for larger groups to play a quick little filler game. Point Salad, my number 5, absolutely fantastic. All right, we're going to number 4. This is Dust in the Wings. Now, you may find it difficult not to sing Dust in the Wind while you crack this bad boy open, but try your best. Now, folks, this is a fantastically produced game. The board is beautiful flowers and wooden butterflies. This is a butterfly collecting game where your point cards are going to show an assemblage of butterflies, and your goal is to have a space that has matching butterflies. And the way you do that is you're going to start on one space, pick up all the butterflies there, and drop them one by one, orthogonally, not going back words. And then it's kind of like a Mancala mechanism. So, for example, in this instance, let's say you started here, grab all those butterflies. You get to choose which butterfly you deposit in each space until you get to the final space. And if the final space where you deposited the last butterfly matches one of those point cards, then you get the points on that card. And the gems that are placed on the card to denote how much it's worth, those gems get added each turn. So, that'll be a fantastic way. Maybe a lesser or maybe a harder card will be more valuable later on. That's also a way to cull point cards that potentially couldn't actually happen, especially early on in the game. You might find it impossible to find that assemblage. Well, if you go to put a 4th gem on a card, Instead of doing that, you just get rid of that card and then put a new one out there. So that'll get rid of any impossible cards early on as well. But anyway, this is also a very quick game, as it says there. 2 to 4 players, folks. This is a fantastic little collecting game. I love the Mancala mechanism. That's Dust in the Wings, which takes us to number 3, Tiny Towns. Oh my gosh, I could go on and on about this. This is another AEG release. 1 to 6 players, but in all honesty, this could play as many players as you have sets of Tiny Towns, because there's no reason with a second set you could not play up to 12, especially with the Town Hall rules. And the Town Hall rules are fantastic. In fact, it's my preferred way to play. What does that actually mean in Tiny Towns? Go check out my walkthrough video that I did, or anyone else's amazing Tiny Towns walkthroughs that are out there on YouTube. But essentially, every turn, someone is either going to announce a resource or flip a card in the resource deck, and it'll tell you which resource to place. Everyone simultaneously places that resource somewhere on their town grid, with the plan of putting them in an order that'll eventually match one of the buildings used in this game. As soon as you complete that assemblage of resources somewhere on the map, you will replace those resources with an actual wooden building piece, and scoring at the end of the game is each building scores differently, and everyone's town is going to look gorgeous. Replayability is high here because there are several different buildings for each building type. So for example, these green buildings here in this game would be an almshouse, but there are multiple different green colored buildings, and you use a different one. You kind of shuffle them up before each game. Fantastic. Love the simultaneous play, building your own little town, spatial reasoning. It's a fantastic game, Tiny Towns, which, by the way, an expansion is coming out soon this year. Number 2. Now this may shock some people. I know a lot of people feel Wingspan was their favorite game of the year, and I tore myself up when I was deciding the order for this, because Wingspan is glorious. Everyone probably with even limited knowledge of what's going on in the board game world has probably heard of Wingspan. It's just been the phenomenon of 2019. Absolutely gorgeous. As it says, there are 170 bird cards. Are you kidding me? And then they also just recently came out with the European expansion, which I have yet to crack open, that adds even more, which is just completely insane. But this game is gorgeously produced. All the bird cards are different with glorious artwork. You have little egg miniatures. You have a little dice tower that looks like a birdhouse. And while the food tokens there are gorgeous, a lot of people have upgraded theirs, myself included, to little food meeples, as we tend to do in the board game hobby, constantly pimping out our game. But this, folks, is fantastic. There are some similarities to Gizmos, one of my favorite games of all time, in terms of chaining things together. So when you are collecting birds and placing them in one of 3 habitats, and when you take an action in one of the habitats, not only do you take that action, but then you go left and activate every bird that's in that row, and that could make for some amazing ability combinations, because most birds do have some kind of ability that you can use. It's a gorgeous game, a fun game, not a very heavy in terms of complexity game. Very, I had my mom and sister play it. My sister, who is not a total board gamer, just wiped the floor with me, which was just awesome to see. So that was Wingspan, my number 2, which means number 1, oh my gosh, it is Little Town. Folks, Little Town is one of my favorite worker placement games of all time. There are multiple reasons why I chose this as number 1. The accessibility is key for me here. This is Okay, let's begin with the board. The board's actually double-sided. The board has different printed resources on there, including water, stone, and wood. Wherever, and this is a communal board, everyone's placing their workers out here, and you check the 8 spaces, because if you can kind of see there, it's gridded. And all the 8 spaces around where you put your worker, you'll collect any resources that are there. You'll use those resources like fish, and that was not water. By the way, that resource for in those water spaces is technically fish. You feed people with fish. If you have any grain, that'll feed them as well. You do have to feed your workers in this game, but you're collecting the stone and wood to build these various buildings, which then get placed out on the board and become more worker spaces that you can utilize. If an opponent owns a building, you have to pay them to use it, but victory points are had either through the building of buildings or in some cases just straight up swapping. In this case, this building, if you activate it, 2 stone will give you 5 victory points. But it's super fast, super simple. Oh my gosh. And the only reason I picked it over Wingspan, because they both I love them both in terms of gameplay. But if you say, Rick, I want to play a game with you, and these are the 2 choices which you choose, I'm leaning to Little Town. Why? Because I can just crack this open, not a lot of setup, play, and absolutely be fulfilled. Wingspan, same thing. It's just a longer setup. If they don't know how to play, there's a bit more explanation. This takes 2 minutes to explain. Oh yeah, put a worker there, collect anything around it, spend what you collect to build these buildings and get the victory points. That's that game in a nutshell, where Wingspan is not super complex, but there's definitely a lot more to it. And just right now for me, just lighter, more accessible games. That's my game group. That's what I'm into right now. So while I absolutely love them both, and on any given day I could swap those 2 in my ranking, but for right now, Little Town is my #1 game of 2019. So to recap, we have Point Salad, a filler, Dust in the Wings, a little bit of a meteor filler, Tiny Towns, just a gorgeous game, can hold a lot of players, Wingspan, gorgeous, a lot there to dive into, and of course Little Town, a fantastic kind of gateway-ish worker placement game. Those are my top 5 of 2019, folks. Let's take a look then at what 5 games I haven't played from 2019 that I absolutely want to get to the table. All right, top 5 games of 2019 that I haven't played and want to, and also own. Number 5, Unmatched Battle of Legends, Volume 1. This is the base set with Medusa, King Arthur, Alice from Alice in Wonderland, and Sinbad. I also have the Bruce Lee guy as well. And then there's more promos, Robin Hood, Bigfoot, I think. I can't wait to grab those as well. I just can't wait to get this played. Fantastic miniatures, tactical card-based combat. Looks fantastic. That is Unmatched Battle of Legends, Volume 1. And that is, something I cannot wait for. And then number 4, the Cowboy Bebop game. As soon as I heard that this was coming out, I was super thrilled. Jasco and Lynn Vander Studios came out with this one, but also, I can't remember if both of those are working on the Dragon Ball Z game. Right now, they have a lot of anime IPs. I can't wait for the Dragon Ball Z miniatures game. I mean, they did the Street Fighter one. That's cool. I wasn't as interested in Street Fighter. They're also doing Mortal Kombat. I mean, let's focus on what we're looking at right here, though. Cowboy Bebop, the board game. Collecting bounties in outer space. I don't know a whole lot about it. I need to read up again. I mean, Board Game Geek is a fantastic resource. So if anyone has any questions, please check out these games on Board Game Geek. I'm going to refresh myself. I remember reading and watching videos about this, but it's been so long. But I finally got a copy. I'm going to refresh myself on how this works, and I am super thrilled. My friends who are also anime fans are so ready to get this played as well. That's number 4. Number 3, what order did I put this in? Oh my gosh. It might be DragonRealm. Now, this is from Game Right. Right, Game Right. typically has some smaller games, some more family weight, maybe kid games. This is definitely family weight from what I heard. I love Dragonwood, which is the precursor to this. Dragonwood's a fantastic game. And then now DragonRealm, I have actually taken the shrink off this one already. Just got to sleeve the cards, read the rules, and we will be good to go. You're rolling dice, gathering adventurers, sending them out on quests. Oh my gosh, it has similar mechanisms to Dragonwood in how similar colors will give you, more dice to roll to try to beat that feat. Or straights will beat one of those other feats. Or having the same number will give you more dice to try to conquer that feat. So obviously the different values, the lower the value, the more likely you are to get it. So maybe I'm going to have to remind myself of which of the three is the same color, straight, or same number. But those are the three different values. And then you get dice equal to the number of cards, I believe. And then there's some treasures and stuff to help you out there as well. But oh my gosh, the little wooden pieces look fantastic. The dice are always gorgeous in these games. I cannot wait to get DragonRealm played. That takes us to number 2, Draco Knights and Trolls. I can't remember if I've actually posted anything about the original Draco. Folks, Draco, the original, which is a dragon versus dwarves, is one of my favorite 2-player games of all time. This is strictly a 2-player game. This is a new set, Knights and Trolls. They also actually, which I do have back over there, the Dragon and Dwarves, that is a reprint. And then they also went ahead and came out with a new set as well, which are interchangeable. So one player is going to play the trolls here. One player is going to play the knights. It's a small hex battlefield of card combat, which is fantastic. And then you can swap them out. You could do knights versus dwarves, or knights versus the dragon, or the trolls versus dwarves, or trolls and the dragon. So many ways to do it. I love the dwarves and dragon set. Can't wait to get knights and trolls to the table, which brings us to number 1, my most anticipated game of 2019 that I want to play so bad. Finally got a copy in. Also got a mat and a small expansion, and also stickers, because my copy did not come with stickers. The biggest complaint about Era, by the way, this is what it is, Era Medieval Age. Era, the board, it's difficult to see some of the symbols and numbers, and so they do have sticker packs, which I grabbed one to put some sticker overlays to make it easier. But this is a roll and build. I am totally uninterested in roll and writes. The very rare times these days that I get to actually have a game night, I just am uninterested in a roll and write. I want something at least, more tangible. I don't know, tactile may be the right thing. But so this just looks gorgeous, right? I mean, you are rolling dice to gather resources, use those resources to feed your people, and also build buildings. Different buildings do different things. Different disasters can happen. Plays 1 to 4. Not very overly complex. Then you're going to obviously score, but everyone, I mean, you end up with just gorgeous looking towns. I cannot wait to get this one played. My number 1 game of 2019 that I absolutely have got to tear the shrink wrap off of, learn the rules, and get it played is Era Medieval Age. So just to recap, we have the Unmatched Battle of Legends, we have the Cowboy Bebop board game, DragonRealm, Draco Knights and Trolls, and Era Medieval Age. Folks, those are the 5 games from 2019 that I own, still need to play, can't wait to play. And then, of course, the 5 games that I have played of 2019 that I absolutely love enough to put in my top 5. But that is it, folks. Thank you all so much for watching. I do truly appreciate it. And until next time.